Hello, good morning. Welcome back to the cruel, brutal, capitalist dictatorship of Kuala Lumpur. Hope you're having an amazing day. If you're having an amazing day, I'm having an amazing day. If I'm having an amazing day, you should be having an amazing day. Now let's begin. So today, I would like to talk to you about how the chickens have come home to roost. Are you ready? Let's begin. You often hear Western nationalists like Douglas Murray or Sam Harris going on about quote-unquote unchecked immigration, because apparently unchecked immigration erodes Western values. And how many times have you heard people from the West going on and on and on about how Europe doesn't feel European anymore? How many times have you heard people in the Western countries whine and bitch about how Europe does not feel like it is culturally European anymore, and that their culture is being eroded? Yes, you hear something along the lines of, "Oh, I was in London the other day, and it feels more like the foothills of Afghanistan rather than London. Why are we Western people not allowed to be proud of our civilization? Why are we Western people not allowed to want to preserve the purity of our culture?" Oh, yes. Yes, well, now you get a modicum of how you have made the people in the global South feel for the past 200 years. Yes, feels nice to get a taste of your own medicine, doesn't it? Because you don't hear these people complaining when white Western people go to any part of the world and live a life that is much more luxurious than the life of the locals. Yes, you don't hear these people complaining about Western expats coming to the East and becoming the labor aristocracy. And I'm not blaming you if you're a Western expat who's earning a better life than you would have been had you stayed in the capitalist West. It is normal to seek better material conditions. But having said that, the hypocrisy of these people becomes clear as day when you realize they have no problem with the history of the West going around the world through Southeast Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and all other parts of the world, and subjugating them, stripping them of their culture and language, imposing so-called Western civilization on them. These very same Western nationalists who want to preserve the so-called purity of their own civilization have no problem at all with colonization. And they have no problem at all with racist colonial thugs like Winston Churchill, who starved over 4 million Indians to death. Yes, these people have no problem with the brutality of colonization and subjugation of non-Western countries. And of course, while they don't want people from the global South coming into their countries, they think that anyone from their countries has a right to move to the global South. Because let's call a spade a spade. No point beating about the bush. When these people like Douglas Murray say immigration, they don't mean immigration of white European people to the global South, and they most certainly do not mean immigration, inter-European immigration of people like Swedes, Danes, Italians, Greeks, and so on. No, when they say immigration, they mean the movement of colored munchkins from the parts of the world that they colonize. Yes, it is a dog whistle, a racist dog whistle, to say that you have a right to colonize the regions of the world whose people you consider inferior, like my country, Malaysia, which was colonized by the British, or the Middle East, or Africa. But they don't have a right to go back and take what you took from them. Yes, you don't want your victims anywhere near you. Yes, if a thief steals your things and you break into the thief's house to try and take back what he stole from you, does that also make you a thief? The reality is that people like Douglas Murray feel entitled to our resources, our land, our bodies, our labor, but they do not feel that they owe us a thing because of their supreme arrogance in believing that they are superior to us only because they developed the technological advancement to colonize and conquer us. But in their hearts, the colonizers remained what they were and what they always have been. Savages, Viking savages that only know how to plunder and pillage, but never know how to take things in a spirit of mutual respect. Look at how the Native Americans were treated by the Mayflower people. Look at how the Aboriginal Australians were treated by the foundational Australians, so to speak. The fact of the matter is that if you look at the brutality, the sheer brutality of Israel towards the Palestinians, right? When they would attack Palestinian villages, slaughter them, raze them to the ground and rape the women, how is that any different from a Viking raid? And why is it in the West Vikings are put on such a high pedestal? You have people who do fitness training courses to become just like modern day Vikings. You didn't really civilize, you only learned more words. And the foundational myth of so-called Western civilization crumbles when you look at the sheer brutality over the past year towards the people of Gaza, but also the sheer brutality and dehumanization the Palestinians have been subjected to for 70 years. Yes, this is how great Western civilization is. We will judge you not by what you call yourself, but how you treat us. We in the non-Western world will judge you based on how you treat us, not on what fancy terms you use to describe yourself. You know, people like Drew Pavlu will use fancy sounding words like democracy, freedom of speech, human rights. But they don't believe in these things. They never have. I'm not talking about the average Westerner who's also an exploited worker. I'm saying the leaders of the Western world have never believed in these things in the first place. Because the reactionaries in the West complain about forced diversity, mass immigration, well, by which they don't mean immigration of white people, they only mean immigration of those dirty black and brown people, and all sorts of nonsense that they complain about. But the reality is that they endorse the right of Western people, especially white Western people, to move anywhere in the world. For example, take a country like Palestine, for example. These Western supremacists believe that it is the right of any Zionist in the West to move back to Palestine and to bring civilization to Palestine. Well, in reality, it's partly because they want the Jews far away from them, but also because they hate Arabs more than they hate Jews. So yeah, they don't even hold themselves to the same standards that they hold the people of the global south to. Because if they were ideologically consistent, people like Douglas Murray would also not be endorsing the mass movement of anti-social characters from the West to the East, by which I don't only mean like China, Japan, Southeast Asia, and India. I also mean Palestine. Yes. I myself know that when the West sends its people to the global South, they're not sending the best. They're sending war criminals, they're sending questionable characters, and they're expecting us to be happy about it. They expect us to not say anything about it. But don't you dare give them a small taste of their own medicine, because then apparently you're destroying Western civilization. But they have no problem destroying your civilization. Yes, the reality is that they never believed in anything that they have preached. And I have great sympathy for the average exploited worker of the Western world. But your leaders have not only failed us, they have also failed you. The spoils of empire, you see, do not go to Western people as a collective. The spoils of empire go to the fat cats in power, people like Winston Churchill, or their colored cronies like Rishi Sunak and the Hong Kong protesters. That is where the spoils of empire go. No. So, you can rest assured, Monsieur or Madame, that when Western supremacists say they want to defend their civilizational values, they don't mean that what they actually say in a literal sense. What these people actually mean is that they don't want their victims anywhere near them. They don't want colored munchkins flooding into their countries en masse. And when it comes to East Asians or any other Asian who are supposed to be the model minority, they only want white-collar educated Asians in order to steal our human resources to boost their economy. They don't want working-class Asians coming into the West to take back what should be theirs. No. They only want a certain type of Asian. But the reality is that Western civilization is dead. Dead. Now, the outer trappings of Western civilization, like the English language which flows from my mouth, the language of Shakespeare and Milton and the Bible, will remain the dominant lingua franca in the world for a while. Okay? Western clothing may remain the dominant clothing form in the world for a while, at least. But right now, what the West has to realize is that it is nothing special. The people of the global South do not put you on a pedestal like you think they do, okay? This is not the colonial times anymore. People of the global South are seeing the true colors of Western civilization, and they're not liking it. Westerners themselves, more enlightened and woke Westerners, are seeing the true colors of Western civilization, like the protesters in the protesters for Palestine, you know, and they don't like it either. So, you know, God willing, Western civilization may actually become a reality someday. Thank you. Have a good day.